A three-legged puppy begs for help every morning, but no one knows why. Every sunrise, he drags himself to a vet's door, eyes full of desperation, then vanishes into the mist. At first, it seems like a strange routine, until one stormy morning, he refuses to leave, barking and limping toward the dark edge of the forest. What the vet finds hidden there will shatter his heart and pull him into a dangerous fight he never saw coming. But why is this tiny survivor risking everything? And what secret is so urgent? It's worth facing real danger for. Your presence here is powerful. In a world full of noise, it's the quiet gestures of compassion that truly stand out. If your heart still makes room for kindness, you're already one of us. The early morning sun painted streaks of pink and gold across the sky as Dr. Leland Carter pulled into the gravel driveway of his veterinary clinic. The familiar crunch of stones under his tires broke the dawn silence, and as he stepped out of his truck, the crisp autumn air nipped at his cheeks. He pulled his worn jacket closer, his weathered hands fumbling with the clinic keys. Before he could reach the door, a movement caught his eye. There, sitting patiently in the shadows of the building's corner, was the German Shepherd puppy he'd seen several times before. The dog's reddish-brown coat gleamed in the early light, and despite missing his front left leg, he held himself with remarkable dignity. "Well, look who's here again," Leland muttered, more to himself than the dog. The puppy's ears perked up at his voice, and those intelligent eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made Leland uncomfortable. There was something in that gaze that seemed almost human, pleading, desperate. The dog, Rusty, as Leland had started calling him in his head due to his coloring, got up and approached the door with surprising agility. He scratched at it insistently, his remaining front paw leaving light marks on the freshly painted surface. All right, Leland said, reaching for his keys again. "Though I don't know why you keep coming back here if you won't stay." The routine had become familiar over the past few days. Rusty would be waiting when Leland arrived, scratch at the door, but the moment Leland opened it, the dog would refuse to enter. It was as if he wanted something else entirely. As expected, when Leland swung the door open, Rusty backed away. He sat there, tail thumping against the ground, looking at Leland with that same urgent expression. "Come on, boy," Leland tried, his voice softer than usual. "I can help you if you let me." The words caught in his throat, surprising him. It had been years since he'd allowed himself to care this much about any creature that wasn't strictly a patient. Not since Sarah. He pushed the thought away, focusing instead on the peculiar dog before him. Rusty tilted his head, whined softly, then took a few steps backward. His three-legged gait was surprisingly graceful, adapted to his condition, with remarkable resilience. "At least let me check that leg," Leland called out, taking a step forward. But Rusty was already retreating, disappearing into the morning mist that still clung to the ground like a soft blanket. Leland stood in the doorway longer than necessary, staring at the spot where the dog had vanished. In all his years as a veterinarian, he'd never encountered anything quite like this. Strays usually came for food or shelter, but Rusty seemed to want neither. Throughout the day, as Leland went about his usual routine of vaccinations, checkups, and minor surgeries, his mind kept wandering back to the mysterious visitor. He found himself checking the window more often than usual, half expecting to see that distinctive three-legged silhouette. As evening approached, and the last client left with their recently spayed cat, Leland sat at his desk, unable to focus on his paperwork. The clinic felt emptier than usual, the silence more pronounced. Outside, the October wind whistled through the trees, carrying dead leaves across the parking lot. He thought about Rusty out there somewhere in the growing darkness. Was the dog hurt? In trouble? The missing leg had healed well from what Leland could see, but there was something about those urgent visits that nagged at him. "You're getting soft, old man," he muttered to himself, running a hand through his graying hair. There had been a time when he'd been better at maintaining professional distance, at keeping his emotions properly contained. But something about this dog's persistent returns had cracked his carefully constructed walls. That night, as Leland drove home along the familiar country roads, the headlights cutting through the darkness, he found himself scanning the roadside for any sign of Rusty. The dog's mysterious behavior had gotten under his skin in a way he hadn't experienced in years, stirring something he'd thought long buried, a desire to help beyond the confines of his clinical duties. In his empty house, with only the ticking of the kitchen clock for company, Leland couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something important. Something in those intelligent eyes, in that insistent scratching at his door, spoke of a purpose beyond simple need for medical attention. Sleep was elusive that night, his thoughts circling back to the three-legged visitor who had somehow managed to disturb the careful emotional distance he'd maintained since losing Sarah. As he lay in bed, listening to the wind outside his window, Leland couldn't help but wonder what tomorrow's dawn would bring. The morning dawned cold and gray, a thin drizzle misting the air as Leland pulled into the clinic parking lot. Something felt different today. The usual piece of his morning routine shattered when a familiar bark pierced the air, urgent, desperate, unlike anything he'd heard from Rusty before. The three-legged shepherd burst from behind the clinic, his reddish-brown coat dark with rain. His usually calm demeanor had vanished, replaced by frantic energy. He limped more pronouncedly than usual, but his eyes blazed with determination as he rushed toward Leland's truck. "Rusty?" Leland stepped out, concern creasing his weathered features. "What's wrong, boy?" The dog barked again, sharp, insistent, and darted toward the tree line behind the clinic. After a few yards, he stopped and looked back, clearly waiting for Leland to follow. "I've got appointments," Leland muttered. But even as the words left his mouth, he knew he wouldn't ignore this call. Something in Rusty's desperate behavior struck a chord deep within him. He grabbed his medical bag from the truck, more out of habit than conscious thought. Rusty led him into the forest, navigating the uneven ground with surprising speed, despite his missing leg. Leland struggled to keep up, his boots slipping on. Wet leaves and muddy patches. The morning drizzle had turned the forest floor treacherous, and low-hanging branches dragged wet fingers across his face. "Slow down," he called out, but Rusty pressed on, only pausing occasionally to ensure Leland was still following. They traveled deeper into the woods than Leland had been in years, moving away from the well-worn hiking trails into denser undergrowth. Just as his legs began to burn from the effort, a structure emerged through the trees, a hunting cabin, or what remained of one. Its wooden walls had gone gray with age, the roof sagging dangerously on one side. The windows were boarded up, and thick chains secured the door. Rusty whined and scratched at the cabin's wall, then found a gap near the foundation and squeezed through. Leland heard barking from inside, followed by a weak whimper that made his blood run cold. He found a broken board near the back of the cabin and managed to create an opening large enough to peer inside. The smell hit him first, the heavy stench of neglect and suffering. As his eyes adjusted to the dim light filtering through cracks in the walls, he saw her. A full-grown German shepherd lay chained to a support beam, her sable coat dulled by dirt and malnutrition. Heavy chains wrapped around her neck and body, leaving angry marks where they had rubbed against her skin. Her sides heaved with shallow breaths, and her eyes, though open, seemed unfocused. Rusty stood beside her, gently nuzzling her face. The similarity in their markings was unmistakable. This had to be his mother. "Oh, God," Leland whispered, anger rising in his chest like a physical force. He squeezed through the opening, his medical instincts taking over as he approached the injured dog. She tried to lift her head at his approach, but lacked the strength. "It's okay, girl," he said softly, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. "I'm here to help." He reached out carefully, letting her catch his scent. Her eyes, though clouded with fear and exhaustion, held the same intelligent awareness he'd seen in her son. Rusty pressed against his side, as if vouching for him. Leland examined the chains, his jaw clenching tighter with each discovery. They were secured with heavy padlocks, far too sturdy to break with the tools he had on hand. The dog, whom he mentally named Grace for her dignity even in such terrible conditions, would need proper bolt cutters or even power tools to be freed. A sudden noise from outside made them all freeze. The crunch of tires on gravel, somewhere, in the distance but getting closer. Rusty's ears pricked up and a low growl rumbled in his throat. "I have to go," Leland whispered, his heart pounding. "But I'll be back. I promise." Grace's eyes met his, and in that moment he made a silent vow. He wouldn't leave her here to suffer. Whatever it took, he would find a way to free her. He slipped back through the opening, Rusty following close behind. They made their way through the woods as quickly as they dared, taking a different route back to avoid being seen. The morning's drizzle had turned into a steady rain, washing away their tracks. Back at his truck, Leland's hands shook as he pulled out his phone to check the time. Only 45 minutes had passed since he'd arrived at the clinic, though it felt like hours. Rusty sat beside him, no longer frantic, but watching him with those knowing eyes. "We'll get her out," Leland promised, his voice rough with emotion. "Whatever it takes, we'll get her out of there." Leland's hands still trembled as he sat at his desk, staring at the phone. The morning's discovery weighed heavily on his mind, making it hard to focus on the routine paperwork before him. Images of Grace, chained and suffering in that derelict cabin, kept flashing through his thoughts. With a deep breath, he picked up the phone and dialed the sheriff's office. Each ring seemed to stretch forever until finally, Sheriff Mike Thompson's familiar drawl came through the line. "Thompson here. Mike, it's Leland Carter. I need to report a case of animal abuse." He described what he'd found at the hunting cabin, keeping his voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath the surface. "The dog needs immediate medical attention. She's chained up, severely malnourished." "Hold on," Thompson interrupted. "You're talking about the old cabin off Route 7, Calvin Rusk's property?" The name sent a chill down Leland's spine. Everyone in Willow Creek knew Calvin Rusk, though most wished they didn't. The man had done time for assault, and rumors about his current activities circulated through town like poison. "Yes, that's the one," Leland confirmed. "Mike, this is serious. The dog could die if—" "Listen, Leland." Thompson's voice dropped lower. "I understand your concern, but we can't just raid Rusk's property without proper cause. We'd need a warrant, and for that we need solid evidence. I'm telling you what I saw. Hearsay won't cut it. Not with Rusk's connections." Thompson sighed heavily. "You know who his brother-in-law is, right? Deputy District Attorney Phillips? Without photographs or other concrete proof, my hands are tied." Leland's free hand clenched into a fist. "So we just let it happen? Let that dog suffer and die while we wade through red tape?" "I didn't say that." Thompson's tone turned cautionary. "But be careful, Leland. Rusk isn't someone you want to cross. He's got a mean streak a mile wide, and he's not above using it. File a formal complaint if you want, but don't do anything foolish." The conversation ended shortly after, leaving Leland feeling more frustrated than before. He went through his appointments mechanically, his mind constantly returning to Grace and the impossible situation. The day dragged on, each hour marked by the weight of inaction. As evening approached, bringing with it a heavy blanket of clouds, Leland found himself standing at the clinic's back window, staring into the gathering darkness. A familiar shape emerged from the shadows, Rusty, moving slower now after the morning's long journey. The three-legged shepherd approached the window, placing one paw against the glass. His eyes, filled with an almost human understanding, met Leland's. "I tried, boy," Leland whispered, pressing his hand against the glass opposite Rusty's paw. "The sheriff won't help without proof." Rusty whined softly, his gaze unwavering. In those eyes, Leland saw Grace's same quiet dignity, now shadowed by desperate need. The dog had trusted him enough to show him his mother's prison, had come back again and again, believing that Leland could help. Leland moved to the door and opened it, but instead of running off as usual, Rusty limped inside. He sat by Leland's feet, looking up with an expression that seemed to ask, "What now?" Running his hands over his tired face, Leland slumped into his office chair. The weight of professional caution warred with the image of Grace, chained and suffering. He'd spent years building his practice, carefully maintaining his reputation and avoiding controversy. Getting involved with someone like Rusk could destroy everything he'd worked for. But he couldn't forget Grace's eyes, the way she'd tried to lift her head despite her weakness. How could he face himself, or Rusty, if he did nothing? Rusty moved closer, resting his head on Leland's knee. The gesture, so simple and trusting, broke something loose inside him. For years after losing his wife, he'd kept the world at arm's length, treating his patients with clinical efficiency, but avoiding deeper connections. Now, looking down at this brave, three-legged dog who refused to give up on his mother, Leland felt his carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble. "The law won't help us," he said quietly, scratching behind Rusty's ears. "But that doesn't mean we can't help her. We just need to be smart about it." Rusty's tail wagged slightly as if he understood. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance, promising another storm. But for the first time since that morning, Leland felt something besides helpless anger. He felt purpose. The next morning, Leland found himself parked outside a small house on the outskirts of Willow Creek. The mailbox read H. Quinn in faded letters. He'd heard about Harper Quinn from other pet owners, stories of her dedication as an animal control officer, and later, whispered accounts of her confrontation with Calvin Rusk. Taking a deep breath, he walked up the gravel path. Before he could knock, the door swung open. Harper Quinn stood there, arms crossed, her sharp eyes taking his measure. She wore canvas work pants and a faded t-shirt, her short-cropped hair slightly messy, as if she'd been working outside. "Doctor." "Carter," she said, not quite a question. Word gets around when someone starts asking questions about Calvin Rusk. "May I come in?" "It's about a dog. 2 dogs, actually." She studied him for a moment longer, then stepped aside. The living room was simple but neat, with photographs of animals covering one wall. A German shepherd lay on a worn couch, raising its head as they entered. "That's Bear," Harper said, gesturing for Leland to sit. "Another one of Rusk's casualties. Found him half dead in a ditch 2 years ago." Leland settled into an armchair, noticing the scars visible through Bear's fur. "Is that when you confronted Rusk?" Harper's face hardened. "I had evidence of his dog-fighting operation. Photos, witnesses, medical records. But his brother-in-law buried it all. Cost me my badge." She leaned forward. "Now what brought you to my door?" Leland described finding Grace and Rusty's persistent visits. With each detail, Harper's expression grew darker. "A 3-legged German shepherd puppy?" She interrupted. "About 8 months old, reddish-brown coat?" "Yes." "You know him?" Harper moved to a filing cabinet and pulled out a folder. "I've been tracking Rusk's operation even after losing my job. 6 months ago, there were reports of a puppy defending its mother from one of Rusk's beatings." She handed him a paper. "Witnesses said Rusk took a tire iron to the pup's leg as punishment." Leland felt sick as he read the account. The paper trembled in his hands. "Rusty lost his leg protecting Grace?" "That's what my sources say. The pup disappeared after that. Everyone assumed he died, but he survived. And he found you." Harper's voice softened slightly. "He's been trying to save his mother all this time." The knowledge sat heavy in Leland's chest. He thought of Rusty, returning morning after morning despite his injury, never giving up hope. "The sheriff won't act without solid evidence," Leland said, "and Rusk's connections make it dangerous to gather any." Harper laughed without humor. "Dangerous is an understatement. Rusk feeds dogs to his fighting ring when they're too weak to breed or fight. The ones he keeps, like Grace, are for breeding more victims." She paused, studying Leland's face. "You're really willing to take him on?" "I have to." Leland met her gaze steadily. "I can't walk away knowing what's happening to those dogs." "Then you'll need help." Harper pulled out a map. "I've been documenting everything. Locations, patterns, contacts. With your veterinary credentials and my evidence, we might have a chance." She spread the map on the coffee table. "But we'll need more. Recent photographs, medical assessments, new witness statements." "It could get ugly," Leland warned. "It's already ugly, Dr. Carter. Has been for years." Harper's eyes flashed with determination. "The question is, are we finally going to do something about it?" Bear padded over and pressed against Harper's leg, as if lending support. Leland thought of Grace, chained in that dark cabin, and Rusty's unwavering faith that someone would help. "We'll need to be careful," he said. "Document everything. Build a case so strong that even Rusk's connections can't bury it." Harper nodded, already pulling out more files. "We start with photographs, clear evidence of Grace's condition, then medical documentation from you about the abuse. I've got contacts who've seen his operation but were too scared to speak up. Maybe now, with a respected vet involved, they'll come forward." They spent the next hour planning, marking locations on the map where other dogs might be held, identifying potential witnesses. Each new detail revealed the scope of Rusk's cruelty, but also strengthened Leland's resolve. "One more thing," Harper said as they finished. "Rusk won't just roll over. When he realizes we're building a case, he'll strike back. Are you ready for that?" Leland thought of the lonely years after his wife's death, how he'd withdrawn into his work, avoiding connections that might lead to more pain. Now, because of one brave three-legged dog, he was choosing to step back into the fight. "I'm ready," he said firmly. "Whatever it takes to save Grace and stop this from happening to other dogs." Harper extended her hand. "Then let's get to work." The autumn chill crept through Leland's jacket as he crouched behind overgrown bushes near Rusk's hunting cabin. Through his camera's zoom lens, he captured another image of Grace, her ribs visible even from this distance. Harper knelt beside him, making notes in a small notebook. "That's the third time today they've brought her." "Water," she whispered. "They're keeping her alive, but barely." Leland lowered the camera, his hands trembling with anger. "Look at those chain marks. They're getting worse." Over the past 4 days, they documented every detail of Grace's condition. Each photo told a story of systematic abuse: the matted fur, the untreated wounds, the way she cowered when Rusk's men approached. Rusty visited the clinic each morning, as if checking that Leland hadn't given up. "We need to move," Harper murmured. "They'll be doing their evening round soon." They retreated through the woods, following the hidden path they'd established. Once safely in Leland's truck, Harper pulled out a map marked with red dots. "I've confirmed 3 more properties," she said, pointing to circled locations. "All registered to Rusk's associates. My contact at the feed store says they're buying enough dog food for dozens of animals, but none of these places has legal kennel permits." That evening, they drove past one of the marked properties, an abandoned barn on the outskirts of town. As darkness fell, they witnessed 2 pickup trucks arrive. In the dim light, they could make out dog crates being transferred between vehicles. "Wait," Harper breathed, raising her binoculars. "I know that man, Bobby Kern. He used to run illegal fights in the next county before the police shut him down." Leland focused his camera, capturing the license plates and faces illuminated by headlights. The operation was quick, practiced. Within minutes, the trucks disappeared in opposite directions. "They're moving them at night," Harper explained, her voice tight with anger. "Rotating the dogs between properties to avoid detection. Classic fighting ring tactic." The next afternoon found them watching another location, a foreclosed farmhouse with boarded windows. The sound of barking carried faintly on the wind. They'd just started documenting the property when a truck appeared on the dirt road. "Down!" Harper hissed, pulling Leland behind a rusted tractor. Heavy boots crunched on gravel. A rough voice called out, "Thought I saw something over here." Leland held his breath as footsteps approached. The camera felt impossibly heavy against his chest. "If they were caught, probably just deer," another voice answered. "But check it out. Boss wants us extra careful after that cop started sniffing around last month." The footsteps drew closer. Harper tensed beside him, her hand moving toward her pocket where Leland knew she carried pepper spray. The tractor wouldn't hide them if... The man walked around it. A dog started barking frantically from the farmhouse. The footsteps paused, then turned away. "Damn mutts," the first man growled. "Let's shut them up before someone else hears." Only when the truck's engine faded did Leland release his breath. Harper's face was pale but determined. "That was too close," she said, checking that her notebook was secure. "But did you hear them? They're spooked. Someone else has been investigating." Back at Harper's house, they spread their evidence across her kitchen table. Dozens of photographs, detailed notes, maps marking the network of properties. The scale of Rusk's operation was staggering. "It's not just dogfighting," Harper explained, connecting lines between locations. "He's breeding, training, and trading. The fights bring in gambling money, but the real profit is in selling trained, fighting dogs to other rings." Leland studied a photo of Grace. "That's why they keep her chained. She's a breeding dog. And Rusty was probably from her last litter, the one who fought back." Harper's voice held equal measures of admiration and sadness. The evidence painted a clear picture of organized cruelty, but it also revealed the dangers they faced. Rusk wasn't just a local thug. He was running a sophisticated operation with dangerous connections. "We need to be even more careful now," Harper warned. "If Rusk realizes we're building a case, he won't hesitate to silence us. I've seen what he's capable of." Leland thought of Grace, still chained in that cabin, and Rusty's unwavering trust. The risks were real, but so was the need to act. "Then we'll be careful," he said firmly. "But we're not stopping." Harper nodded, already planning their next move. The investigation had revealed more than just animal cruelty. It had exposed a criminal network that had operated unchecked for too long. And with each new piece of evidence, the stakes grew higher. Harper burst through the clinic's door just after sunset, her face flushed with urgency. Leland looked up from organizing medical supplies, instantly alert at her expression. "I got it," she said, spreading papers across his examination table. "The whole operation. My contact at the county records office came through." Leland moved closer, studying the documents. Phone records, property deeds, and handwritten notes covered the steel surface. Harper's hands trembled as she pointed to a particular sheet. "They're planning something big. This Saturday night. Look at these delivery orders: specialized fighting, equipment, temporary kennels, security systems, all going to that abandoned meatpacking plant outside Morris County." Leland's stomach twisted as he processed the information. "How sure are you about this?" "Very." Harper pulled out her phone, showing him a series of text messages. "My source infiltrated their communication network. Rich buyers are coming in from 3 different states. They're calling it the Retirement Showcase." The word retirement hung heavy in the air. In the brutal world of dogfighting, retirement meant only one thing: death in the ring. Harper's voice cracked as she continued. "Grace is scheduled for the main event. They're marketing her as the veteran champion, making her final appearance." She swallowed hard. "Leland, They're not planning for her to survive this fight. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Leland gripped the edge of the table. When exactly? Saturday at 11 o'clock in the evening. Less than 48 hours from now. Harper checked her watch. They'll move her from the cabin tomorrow night, along with the other dogs. Leland paced the clinic floor, his mind racing. The timeline was impossible. They'd planned to build a legal case, to do this properly. But Grace didn't have weeks or months. She had hours. What about the evidence we've gathered? He asked, gesturing to their collection of photographs and documentation. Harper shook her head. Local law enforcement is still dragging their feet. State authorities need more time to coordinate. By then, she didn't need to finish the sentence. A soft whine drew their attention. Rusty stood in the doorway, his three-legged stance somehow more poignant than ever. He'd come to the clinic twice that day, as if sensing the increasing urgency. "How many people will be there?" Leland asked, already knowing they couldn't wait for official channels. At least 50. Maybe more. Harper spread out a roughly drawn diagram. The facility has multiple entrances, security patrols. They're professional about this, and Rusk's people will be armed. Leland watched Rusty approach the table, nose twitching at Grace's scent on their boots from their earlier surveillance. The dog's trust had led them this far. Now that trust demanded action. "Tell me everything you know about the layout," he said quietly. Harper looked up sharply. "You're not suggesting we—" 48 hours, Harper. What choice do we have? She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "We'll need help. I know some people, former animal control officers, rescue workers, people who've lost their jobs, standing up to Rusk's operation. Can they be trusted? Absolutely. They've been waiting for a chance like this. The next hour was spent huddled over maps and floor plans, marking entry points and security positions. Harper made calls, speaking in careful code to her contacts. Each person she reached responded immediately, without hesitation. 8 people, she reported, ending the last call. "All experienced with animal rescue operations. They'll meet us tomorrow night." Leland stared at the mission outline taking shape before them. In all his years as a veterinarian, he'd never imagined planning anything like this. The risks were enormous. If they failed, they'd face more than legal consequences. Rusk's organization had already proven its ruthlessness. The fight starts. At 11 o'clock on Saturday night, Harper reviewed, checking their notes. "Grace will be moved to the facility tomorrow evening. We'll have one chance just before the event begins." Rusty pressed against Leland's leg, his warm presence a reminder of everything at stake. Somewhere in the darkness, Grace waited in her chains, unaware that she had less than 2 days before being forced into a fight she wasn't meant to survive. "Saturday night," Leland confirmed, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "We'll be ready." Harper gathered the documents, her movements precise and controlled. "I'll contact everyone again in the morning. We'll need medical supplies, transport vehicles, safe houses ready." The scope of what they were attempting settled over them. 48 hours to organize a rescue operation against an armed criminal network. The odds were staggering, but the alternative was unthinkable. Leland walked Harper to her car, the night air sharp with autumn's chill. Before she left, she turned to him, her expression grave. Grave. "Are you sure about this? Once we start, there's no turning back." He thought of Grace's gentle eyes, of Rusty's unwavering faith, of all the animals suffering under Rusk's cruelty. "I'm sure." As Harper's taillights disappeared into the darkness, Leland felt the weight of the countdown beginning. 47 hours and 50 minutes remained. The clock was ticking. Friday night brought a darkness deeper than usual to Willow Creek. Thunder growled in the distance as Leland packed his medical bag with trembling hands. The old clinic's walls seemed to breathe with each gust of wind that rattled the windows. "The storm's moving in faster than expected," Harper said, spreading a detailed map across the treatment table. Her flashlight beam traced their planned route. "We'll need to time this perfectly." Leland carefully arranged vials of sedatives in a padded case. "How many doses?" "Pack for at least 10 dogs. We don't know exactly how many we'll find there." Harper's voice was tight with tension. "The loading area will be busy tonight. They'll be moving all the fighting dogs to the plant." A crack of lightning illuminated the room, followed by a deep rumble that made Rusty press closer to Leland's leg. The three-legged shepherd hadn't left his side all evening, watching every preparation with alert eyes. "The storm works in our favor," Harper continued, checking her watch. "It'll mask any noise we make and the rain will wash away tracks. But..." She hesitated. "But what?" "The weather also means Rusk will have extra security. He can't risk any dogs escaping in the confusion." She pulled out her phone, showing Leland a series of messages. "My contact says he's called in more men than usual. They're nervous about tomorrow's big money crowd." Leland zipped up the medical bag, double-checking its contents. Sedatives, syringes, bandages, bolt cutters, and a small set of veterinary instruments. Everything chosen for silence and speed. "Run me through the timing again," he said, trying to steady his voice. Harper pointed to different locations on the map. "Our team will be in position by 11 o'clock tonight. The transport trucks usually arrive around midnight. That's when security will be focused on the loading area here." Her finger moved to the rear of the property. "We'll use this access road. The storm should hide our approach." "And Grace?" "According to my source, she's being kept in the old storage shed until the transfer. It's the furthest building from the main activity." Harper's expression darkened. "They don't want the other dogs getting agitated by her scent. She's meant to be fresh for tomorrow's fight." Leland checked the heavy-duty bolt cutters one more time. The thought of Grace chained in that shed, waiting for a death sentence, made his hands clench around the tool's handles. A particularly loud thunderclap shook the clinic. Rusty whined softly, but his stance remained steady. The dog's courage, despite his obvious fear, strengthened Leland's resolve. "The extraction team is ready?" he asked, shouldering his medical bag. Harper nodded. 6 vehicles positioned along different escape routes. Each driver knows exactly where to go if we get separated. The safe houses are prepared to receive injured. "Animals," she paused, looking at him intently. "Leland, I need to be clear about something. Rusk has millions riding on tomorrow's fights. If we're caught..." "I know." He met her gaze. "But we're past the point of turning back." The rain started then, heavy drops hammering against the roof. Harper began packing their equipment into waterproof bags, while Leland changed into dark clothing. Each movement felt weighted with purpose. "Comms. Check at 10:30, Harper said, handing him a small earpiece. "Complete radio silence after that unless absolutely necessary." She hesitated before adding, "Are you sure about bringing Rusty?" Leland looked down at the shepherd, who stared back with unwavering focus. "He's gotten us this far, and he might be our best chance of keeping Grace calm during the extraction." The storm intensified as they loaded the last of their gear into Harper's SUV. The wind drove sheets of rain sideways, providing a natural curtain of concealment. Through the downpour, Leland could see other vehicles moving into position, their team of volunteers taking their places for the night ahead. "One last thing," Harper said, pulling out a small case. "Just in case." She opened it to reveal a set of thin lockpicks. "I had a friend teach me the basics. Might be quieter than the bolt cutters in some situations." Leland nodded, appreciating her thoroughness. Every second they could save might make the difference between success and disaster. Thunder boomed overhead as they did their final equipment check. Rusty sat alertly between them, his wet fur gleaming in the occasional flashes of lightning. The storm that had worried them earlier now felt like an ally, nature itself providing cover for their rescue attempt. "It's time," Harper said quietly, checking her watch one last time. The transport trucks will be moving out soon. They climbed into the SUV, Rusty settling in the back seat. The rain drummed against the roof as Harper started the engine. In less than an hour, they would either save Grace and expose Rusk's operation, or Leland pushed the alternative from his mind. Tonight, they would write their own ending to this story. The storm howled around them as Harper killed the SUV's engine, the darkness nearly complete except for occasional flashes of lightning. Through sheets of rain, the cabin's outline loomed. Before them, a dark shape against the stormy sky. Rusty's low whine from the back seat matched the wind's mournful sound. Security's focused on the loading area, Harper whispered, checking her phone one last time. We should have about 15 minutes. Leland gripped his medical bag tightly, his heart pounding. They moved through the darkness like shadows, rain soaking through their clothes. Rusty limped beside them, his three-legged gait surprisingly quiet despite the urgency in his movements. The cabin's back door yielded to Harper's lockpicks with a soft click. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of damp wood and something worse, the unmistakable stench of neglect and fear. Lightning flashed through dirty windows, illuminating Grace's form in brief, terrible glimpses. She lay chained in the corner, her once proud body even thinner than before. Grace, Leland breathed, moving toward her. The German shepherd's tail thumped weakly against the floor as Rusty rushed to her side, nuzzling her face. Harper stood guard while Leland worked on the chains, his hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The bolt cutters made a harsh grinding sound that was mostly covered by the storm. None of them heard the heavy footsteps until it was too late. Well, ain't this touching? Calvin Rusk's voice cut through the darkness like a knife. Before they could react, the cabin. Light flared on, momentarily blinding them. Rusk filled the doorway, rain dripping from his massive frame, his small eyes burning with rage. You're costing me a lot of money, Doc, he snarled, advancing into the room. That dog's worth more than you'll make in a year. Leland straightened, up, positioning himself between Rusk and the dogs. It's over, Rusk. We have evidence of everything. Rusk's laugh was ugly. Evidence? You ain't got nothing but a breaking and entering charge. He moved with surprising speed for his size, crossing the distance in 2 strides. The first blow caught Leland in the chest, driving him backward. He slammed into the wall, medical bags spilling across the floor. The second hit took his legs out from under him. Leland crashed down, struggling to draw breath into his stunned lungs. Rusk's hands found his throat, pressing down with terrible strength. Should have minded your own business, Doc. Through darkening vision, Leland saw Harper moving to help, but Rusk kicked out, catching her in the knee. She stumbled, crying out in pain. Then came a blur of motion and a savage snarl. Rusty launched, himself at Rusk, powerful jaws clamping down on the man's forearm. Even with only 3 legs, the shepherd's attack was fierce, fueled by years of stored rage and protective instinct. Rusk howled, releasing Leland to deal with this new threat. Blood appeared where Rusty's teeth had found their mark. The dog didn't. Let go, using his weight to drag Rusk off balance despite the man's attempts to shake him loose. Harper seized her chance. Grabbing a broken board from near the wall, she swung it with all her strength. The wood connected with Rusk's temple with a sickening crack. The big man staggered, his expression shocked. That's for every animal you've hurt, Harper spat, bringing the board down again. Rusk fell backward, crashing into a stack of old crates. He lay still, blood mixing with rainwater on his face. Leland pulled himself up, coughing and massaging his throat. Harper? I'm okay, she managed, though she was favoring her injured knee. We need to move fast. That much noise, someone might have heard. Rusty stood guard over Rusk's unconscious form, his fur bristling, while Leland returned to Grace's. Chains with renewed urgency. The bolt cutters made quick work of the remaining links. Thunder crashed overhead, as if nature itself was marking the moment of Grace's liberation. The German shepherd struggled to her feet, weak but determined, her eyes fixed on her son with unmistakable recognition. "Come on," Harper urged, already at the door. "The extraction team's waiting." Leland gathered his scattered medical supplies, his hands shaking from the aftermath of adrenaline. Outside, the storm raged on, but now it felt like an ally, ready to cover their escape just as it had hidden their approach. They moved toward the door, Grace leaning against Leland for support while Rusty limped ahead, leading the way just as he had so many mornings before. Behind them, Rusk lay motionless, his dreams of profit and cruelty shattered like the board that had struck him down. The crack of thunder barely masked the sound of tires crunching on gravel outside. Through the rain-streaked windows, headlights cut through the darkness. Leland's heart jumped into his throat, but relief washed over him as he recognized Mike Henderson, a local hunter he'd treated dogs for over the years. "Doc Carter?" Mike's voice carried over the storm as he approached the cabin's entrance, shotgun lowered but ready. "That your vehicle out there? I heard fighting and—" He stopped short in the doorway, taking in the scene before him. The cabin's dim light revealed everything. Rusk sprawled unconscious, Leland's bruised throat, Harper favoring her injured knee, and most damning of all, Grace's emaciated form still partially wrapped in heavy chains. Rusty stood protectively near his mother, blood matting the fur around his muzzle from the fight. "Dear Lord," Mike breathed. Without hesitation, he pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Sheriff Roberts. This ain't right." This time, when the sheriff's cruiser pulled up 15 minutes later, there was no hesitation, no political maneuvering. Sheriff Roberts took one look at Grace's condition and the marks of violence throughout the cabin, and his face hardened into granite. "Get an ambulance out here for Dr. Carter and Ms. Quinn," he barked into his radio. "And I want every available unit at this property now. Animal control, too." The night exploded into activity. Red and blue lights pierced the rainfall as cruisers converged on the property. Officers secured Rusk, who had begun to stir, immediately placing him in handcuffs. The man's protests died on his lips when Sheriff Roberts personally read him his rights, each word sharp with barely contained anger. Paramedics arrived to tend to Leland and Harper, but both refused to leave. "I need to see to the dogs," Leland insisted, pressing an ice pack to his throat. "There will be others." He was right. As officers swept the property, they discovered a network of outbuildings. Inside each one, more horror awaited. Dogs of various breeds, many bearing scars of fighting or abuse, were chained in dark spaces. Evidence of illegal gambling operations and fighting rings littered the premises. Through it all, Rusty remained focused on his mother. The three-legged shepherd limped back into the cabin where Grace still lay, uncertain of her newfound freedom. He nudged her gently, encouraging her to stand, to trust that this time was different. Leland watched the reunion through tears he couldn't hold back. "Come on, girl," he called softly. "You're safe now. Both of you are safe." Grace's ears perked at his voice. With trembling legs, she rose, following her son's lead. Together, they made their way out of the cabin that had been her prison. The rain had softened to a gentle patter, as if nature itself was holding its breath to witness her first steps of freedom. Animal control officers worked efficiently, documenting each dog's condition and preparing them for transport. Many would need extensive veterinary care and rehabilitation. Sheriff Roberts approached Leland, who was examining one of the rescued fighting dogs. "We found ledgers, betting slips, videos of the fights," the sheriff said, his voice heavy with disgust. "This is bigger than Rusk. Names, dates, connections to fighting rings in 3 states. The FBI's being contacted." Leland nodded, but his attention was fixed on Rusty and Grace. The pair hadn't separated since the rescue began. Despite his injury and the chaos around them, Rusty stayed pressed against his mother's side, guiding her through the unfamiliar activity, showing her there was nothing to fear. Harper limped over, supported by crutches the paramedics had provided. "The transport vehicles are ready. We can take them to the clinic now." "All of them?" Leland asked, looking at the dozen or more dogs being led to waiting vehicles. "The county's emergency shelter is taking most, but these two," she smiled at Rusty and Grace, "they're coming with us. They've earned that much." As dawn began to break over Willow Creek, the last police cars pulled away, Rusk secured in the back of one. The property that had housed so much cruelty was now empty, its dark secrets exposed to the light. In the back of Leland's SUV, Rusty curled up next to his mother, both dogs exhausted but finally, undeniably, free. The steady rhythm of raindrops accompanied them as they drove toward the clinic, toward healing, toward a future that just hours ago had seemed impossible. Grace's head rested on her son's back, her eyes closed in what might have been her first peaceful sleep in years. 2 weeks after the raid, morning sunlight streamed through the clinic windows as Leland Carter adjusted his white coat, wincing slightly at the lingering tenderness around his throat. The bruises had faded to a yellowish green, but the memories remained vivid. He paused at his office door, watching the scene unfolding in the waiting room. Harper Quinn sat behind the newly installed reception desk, her leg propped up on a cushioned stool as she answered phones and organized files. She'd accepted his offer to join the practice permanently just days ago, bringing her fierce dedication and warm smile to brighten the once quiet clinic. "Dr. Carter," she called out, covering the phone receiver, "Mrs. Peterson is bringing in her rescue from Rusk's place." "The German Shepherd mix?" Leland nodded, making a mental note. Nearly all the dogs from the raid had found homes, their stories touching hearts throughout the community. The FBI's investigation had revealed the full scope of Rusk's operation, leading to arrests across 3 states. But here in Willow Creek, healing came in smaller, quieter moments. A familiar clicking sound drew his attention to the hallway. Rusty appeared, his 3-legged gait confident as he made his morning rounds. Behind him, Grace followed, her transformation remarkable. Her coat had regained its luster, and her eyes shone with newfound trust. The chain marks around her neck were hidden now by a soft blue collar, matching the one her son wore. "There's my greeting committee," Leland said softly, kneeling to receive Rusty's enthusiastic good morning kisses. Grace approached more slowly. She still had moments of hesitation, but pressed her head against his shoulder in a gesture that never failed to touch his heart. "They're quite the welcoming team," Harper observed, smiling at the trio. "Who would have thought that scrawny stray scratching at your door would change everything?" Leland scratched behind Rusty's ears, remembering those desperate morning visits. He knew exactly what he was doing, didn't he? Smarter than most humans I know. The adoption papers for both dogs sat framed on his office wall now, alongside new photos that documented their recovery. Grace lounging in the sunny spot by his living room window. Rusty playing with the clinic's cat, his missing leg forgotten in the joy of chase. Both dogs curled up together on the bed they'd claimed as their own in his home. "Doctor?" Harper's voice carried a hint of amusement. "Your 8 o'clock is here." Leland stood, straightening his coat. "Right. Come on, you two. Time to make our rounds." Rusty fell into step beside him, head held high, while Grace followed close behind. They'd developed a routine in the clinic. Rusty greeting nervous patients with his gentle demeanor, Grace offering quiet comfort to recovering animals in the kennels. Their presence brought something special to the practice, something Leland hadn't even known was missing. Later that afternoon, during a quiet moment, Leland found himself standing in the treatment room doorway, watching Harper work with a frightened puppy. Her gentle words and patient hands slowly coaxed trust from the trembling animal, much as she'd helped him lower his own defensive walls these past weeks. "You know," she said, not looking up from the puppy, "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm almost grateful to Rusk. If he hadn't been such a monster, none of us would have found each other. Leland felt Rusty lean against his leg, a warm, solid presence. I spent so many years keeping everyone at arm's length, he admitted. After losing Sarah, it seemed easier that way. Safer. And now? He looked down at Rusty, who gazed back with unwavering devotion. The dog who had refused to give up on him, who had trusted him to save not just Grace, but himself as well. Now I remember why it's worth the risk. Grace padded over from her bed in the corner, pressing against his other side. His family, unexpected, and perfect in their own way. Each morning, instead of finding Rusty desperately scratching at the clinic door, they walked in together. The three-legged shepherd no longer begged for help. He offered it, showing other rescued animals that healing was possible. "We make quite a team," Harper said, finally looking up with a warm smile. Leland nodded, his throat tight with emotion. "Yes," he managed, "we do." The afternoon sun painted long shadows across the clinic floor as they went about their work. The once-guarded veterinarian, the passionate former animal control officer, and two dogs who had proven that love could overcome the darkest circumstances. Together, they had built something beautiful from the ashes of tragedy. Not just a sanctuary for animals, but a place where broken spirits could mend and closed hearts could learn to trust again. Thanks for watching. If any part of this story lingered with you, consider subscribing. I'll be here again tomorrow, sharing another tale that speaks to the soul.